Should I turn it down? Wait, should I be recording this way or?
It's up to you.
Oh.
So
can I introduce you?
sure,
Okay,
of
okay.
course.
This is writing 212, so translingual writing, and I am so excited to introduce Juan Carlos Padilla. So he's a lawyer, he's a public policy person, he's an advocate, and he's going to talk with us about this bilingual referendum coming out of Colombia.
Yes.
And then, so everyone in the class is bilingual or multilingual.
Great.
People are from a wide range of backgrounds, and we're just excited to hear from you.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So thank you very much. Christina, this is great for me. Do you have something to write here?
There's chalk.
Oh, this, okay. Oh, here. So at the end, we are going to try to answer this question. Okay? Perfect. Can you read it? Beautiful. So I'm going to talk about today about the Colombian Bilingual Referendum from a public policy point of view. That's very important. So when you make public policy, you have to take into account many topics. We call like the arc of the public policy making. So the first one, part of the arc, is the values. The second one is the problem. The third one is the technical aspect of the policy. The fourth one, the political aspect. And the final one is the recommendations, right? So I'm going to explain our referendum from the public policy point of view, going over these points. So values. What's your name?
Shreya.
Shreya. What is a value of you?
A value? I believe that everyone is entitled to food, shelter, healthcare.
Okay, so you are like an advocate. So you take care of people who may be in a disadvantaged position in society. So Jamie, what is a value of you? Well, tell me your values.
My value is kindness.
Kindness, okay. Good. Hannah,
Probably family relationships.
family relationships, good. Makoto, are you Japanese? Yeah. Okay. Konnichiwa.
My values, I guess, bring in more effort or whatever you're committed to.
Like competitiveness?
Yeah.
Okay. Janal, what about you?
I would say family and religion for me.
Family and religion, very important. Dino,
Grit and determination.
Italian?
Montenegro.
Okay. Dino,
Grit and determination.
determination. Simo,
I would say tolerance.
tolerant. Good. Mary,
Faith.
faith. Wow. Jesse,
Equality in education.
equality. That's great. Let me ask Professor Christina her values.
Oh my goodness. Probably inclusion.
Inclusion?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we got a lot of values here. Inclusion, that's a very good one for the public policy point of view. We got tolerance, maybe. All of the values are perfect. There is no right or wrong answer. So tolerance, fight for the poor, taking care of the poor people. Okay, great. So all of these values are going to inform the public policy you are working to implement in a given country, in this case in Colombia. So the values are very important. So some values for this referendum: inclusiveness, equality, social development, faith in democracy, faith in our constitution, and faith in the values, all of these values, what we believe in. So little by little we start to answer these questions. What will you stand for? Okay? Then the problem. This is very important. problem in Colombia, in particular in the public school system in Colombia. And there is data that is supporting our referendum. And here on the left, I'm gonna put, this is pure data, pure data. So with data, policymakers can make informed decisions. It's not good to make public policy based on anecdata, assumptions. Oh, what if? No, it's very critical to make decisions, public policy decisions, or personal decisions, or family decisions, school decisions based on real data. It's like going to the doctor because you have something in the shoulder, and the doctor is gonna say, oh no, you don't have any broken bone. Bingo, go to the x-ray, you have a broken bone. So the doctors are teaching us a lot. So the x-ray the doctor uses for prescriptions is the data policymakers should utilize for public policy making. So I'm gonna put here API 2024. I'm gonna have here World Bank data. So the API is the English Proficiency Index. That's a international data that many international organizations use to evaluate the level of English of many countries across the globe. And why English? So you guys are super privileged because English is the lingua franca of these days. And I cannot see why that's gonna change in the future. At least within the next century, English is gonna keep being the lingua franca of the world. So countries like the US and the UK, they have a great advantage because the English language is the language of the international business, diplomacy, globalization, everything. So it's easier for the English speaker to communicate with the world in terms of business, diplomacy, cultural aspect, science, physics, economics, whatever is the case. On the other hand, for people like me, whose first language is not English, in my case is Spanish, so we have to make an extra effort to keep up with the international level. And then you can ask yourself, so, oh, Professor Portilla, you are talking about an effort, right? Okay, who is making the effort right now, pretty much in many countries in the world and in Colombia? The state and the government? No. Is the families who are making the extra effort in terms of money, budget, to provide the kids a bilingual education. In the native language of the kid, it could be Spanish, it could be Portuguese, it could be Japanese, it could be Mandarin, it could be Italian, French, plus English. So English is a necessary condition for success in these days, right? So the effort is being pursued by the families. So that's gonna bring me to a second issue, inequality. So the wealthy families, I'm not lefty guys, don't get me wrong, this is part of the public policy. The wealthy families, I came from a wealthy family, praise the Lord. My father was an attorney, a Colombian judge, and we have everything in home, praise the Lord. So wealthy families, they have the means and the budget to send the kids to private schools to learn Spanish, in the Colombian case, plus English. But that's gonna take a lot of effort, that's gonna entitle a lot of money. But when these families are super small percentage of the society in many countries, including the rich country like the US. Imagine in Colombia, which is a developing country. So the rest of the family, they are the families who do not have the means to send the kids to private schools. The only options they have is public school. And here, I have to be super careful because public schools are important. I'm not trying to minimize public schools. No, public schools should be the apple of the eye of policymakers, because public schools is a forum where no wealthy families send the kids for education, including those kids who are in heaven waiting for their turn to come to this place, that are going to born in an unprivileged family and they are destined to go to public schools. Okay, so with this introduction, I'm going to talk about the EPI 2004. The English Proficiency Index is one of the most respected index for English languages to assess the level of English in many countries in the world. So in the 2004 assessment, countries, someone from Singapore here?
No.
Singapore, they are
Yeah.
tiny country, they are super fantastic in education. They do not invest money in military power, they invest money in education. And guess what? A tiny country like Singapore, they are doing great in economics, in social development, in the labor market, in everything. Singapore, just to cite a country, occupy the number 3 with very high level of English. The 3rd in the world. And they speak Mandarin and another local language plus English. Guess what? Based on the World Bank, are you familiar with the GDP? What is GDP, Simon?
Gross domestic product.
Excellent, that's my point. So in 2024, Singapore, the GDP of Singapore was 4.4%. That's amazing. Imagine growing in at that rate. Wow. Croatia, Serbia. Serbia is very important for my example because Serbia came out from an internal conflict that killed a lot of people in that country. Colombia still is struggling with the internal conflict, but as Serbia, we have had a civil war going on in the country for many years. Plus the drug trafficking business. So we have a lot of issues in the country. Serbia also had a civil war. But Serbia occupied, I believe, the 17th high level of English, and they grow 3.7% GDP. Do you remember math in high school? Functions, any here? So y is in function of x, x1, and x2. This is very simple. This is econometrics, but this is coming from statistics, and this statistics is coming from math, and this math is coming from logic. Y is in function of x, x1 and x2. What does it mean? That y is a dependent variable. Whatever is happening here in the x side, on the right side, is gonna affect y. So this is cause here, and this is effect. This is pure philosophic talk. Cause and effect. So in terms of economics, y is the economic growth of a country. What can influence y in the economic growth of a country? Janal, think about any x here that is gonna have an effect on y, on the economic growth of any country. There is no right or wrong answer. It's just trying to.
High
Okay.
employment rate.
Huh?
High employment rate.
Okay, so we have like a good policy for the business, you know? So we can have, please, I'm not taking sides here. Maybe a country may have a tax cut policy that is gonna impact the employment in the country. It cannot be. Good. What about Andre? Any other?
Education.
Education! Perfect! Great, that's the most important. Education. What kind of education, Andre?
They're up from all levels, but I guess the most important probably high school, middle school, or university.
Shiriya is correct the pronunciation?
Shreya.
Shiriya, sorry. No. Hey, Facebook friends. Shiriya. Education. Keep going on education.
Oh, in education.
See, what kind of education we're talking about here?
Public education.
Lila.
Everyone's been wrong.
No, that's okay. What about this? What is more important? More years of education or better quality of education? Jamie? Quality. Exactly. So education, like Jana or someone says here, education, quality of education. And when you talk about quality of education, JC, what do you think about quality of education?
Like how good it is.
How good? How can you measure how good a public education system is in a given country? How?
By, I'd say like test scores.
They score based on what?
Based on like proficiency and subjects.
Great. Subjects like what, Mary?
Reading.
Reading, excellent. Simon?
Well, mathematics is one.
Of course, mathematics. Twin. I don't know, your name?
Oh, sorry,
I just kidding. Greek, okay. Math, reading. What about something that Professor Cristina loves?
Right?
Yes, right? Dino.
Science.
Science, good. Makoto.
Speaking.
Speaking, well, yeah, good, yeah. So what about the topic we are talking about today? Bilingual education. English plus Spanish. English plus Italian. English plus Mandarin. Perfect. So the quality of a public education can be assessed if the system is bilingual. Good. So if we got here X, which is a quality public education or bilingual public education, we are going to have Y going up. And see, the results, the data is self-evident. So Colombia, we got the spot number 74 out of 112. Very, very bad. Horrible in English. And guess what? There was poor level of English. We got that. And this one in all international media, this scores. In all international media, there was a public news. Guess what? In 2024, Colombia barely just brought 1.7% of the GDP. So the higher English plus the native language, the more economic growth. Singapore, third in the world, 4.4. Colombia, low level of English, 74 out of 112 countries, 1.7%. So the data is powerful. And that's part of the public policy here. So now we talk about the values, now we're talking about the problem. So we have a problem. So we are talking to the government, to the policymakers. Mr. President, Mr. Congressman, Mr. Ministry of Education, we have a problem. We don't have a mandatory bilingual education in the Colombian policy schools. We don't have it. And these are the results. What have you done to fix that issue? The answer is just silent. Okay? Good. Now the technical aspect of any public policy and for our referendum. So we have to take into account all of the technical aspects that a public policy should consider. You know, is the public policy proposed feasible within the resources of the government, within the resources of the country, or within the capabilities of the Colombia? That's a question we have to ask. And the answer, yes, we have it. That's a different story that the policymakers in Colombia or the government officials haven't seen that opportunity or have not been willing to take the bull by the horns and fix the issue. But we might have the capabilities to pursue and implement this referendum for a public bilingual education in Colombia. Then the political aspect, that's very important. In this aspect, we call actors. And we have three kinds of political actors. First, of course, the government. Second, the market. And third, we, the civil society. Right? So when I was doing my research within the last 5 years on this policy, I started to ask the question, what about the government? Have the government or has the government of Colombia made something to fix this issue we have in the country? The answer is no. Zero. F. D. No F. Nothing, right? The second question, what about the market? Supply and demand. But the problem with the market is that you have to have a lot of competitiveness, power, in order to compete and get the resources on the market without any government intervention. And the market is not the answer as well, because the market has created a negative externality. So the markets fail for three reasons. For negative externalities, I'm going to explain that with one example. Second, for information asymmetry, on unequal access to information, right? And for the abuse of monetary power of a given company, right? Microsoft, I don't know, this is just an example. Microsoft may have monopoly power to influence the prices of all of the products they sell in the market. They might have. This is just an example. So negative externalities. Remember, if you are not born in a wealthy family, your destiny is public schools. So the private families, the wealthy families who are able to send their kids into a private school for bilingual education, they are creating that negative externality, because more people are being left out of this privilege, and less people is having access to a education of quality, bilingual education. So the market is not the answer. So I said, oh, no government, no market. Civil society. And here, civil society, we have NGOs, we have the people, and in the case of Colombia, we have the Colombian Constitution that grants rights to the Colombian people to participate in the public affairs of Colombia through many mechanisms, including the referendum. So, if the government hasn't done anything, if the market is not the answer, the only answer is civil society. And under the Colombian Constitution, the citizens of Colombia, they can request the government at the electoral board, which is a national authority, to recognize a referendum to ask the Colombian people about a public policy. And our public policy is to make bilingual education in English and in Spanish a mandatory in policy school from kindergarten all the way to high school, the last class, the last grade. Here in the US is the 12. In Colombia we got the 11 one. So from kindergarten all the way through high school, 11th grade. Why from the kindergarten? Listen, I am not a doctor, I am not a linguistic expert, but I have done my research. The kids at the early age, the brain of the kids, they are different from the brain of an adult. They are like a door, so you can mold, you can shape the brains of the kids, so they can learn any languages. From Arabic, reading from right to left, right? We read from left to right. So Japanese characters, or Chinese, or French with a strong accent. English, which is a crazy language to learn, very difficult. Spanish, more romantic, Portuguese, Italian, mamma mia. Piano, they can play any instrument. The key is to have consistency and discipline, and a forum to provide the kids, poor kids. Discipline and consistency throughout the education cycle is mandatory bilingual education in Spanish and English since kindergarten. And secondly, besides this data, we have also the PISA exams from the OECD, that is the more respected language assessment in the world. They test the kids from all over the world in mathematics, in science, in reading, in writing, and guess what? No in Japanese, no in Spanish, no in French, in English. Colombia has performed very poorly within the last 50 years in those scores. Colombia is here, we call PISA, and the big countries are here above the average, like Japan, the US, Singapore. Colombia here is 400 down. Why? What is the cause? What is the root of the problem? The lack of mandatory bilingual education in the Colombian policy system. So wrapping all of this process of the public policy, we came out with this recommendation. Oh, we have to do something. What will you stand for? And I asked myself, so I have this place. I have a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful kids. I have my career. I went to law school. I went to law school here in Boston. My wife is a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch. What more? My kids are super healthy. Now they are going to college. One of them is going to college. Is the time to devote my time, my effort, my capabilities to work for the country I was born, for the country I love, which is Colombia. And the best way is to provide an opportunity for the kids in education. So the recommendation is not the government. I'm not going to run for office. It's not the market. Those guys are very selfish. And third is the civil society. So we request the government to recognize and grant this referendum. And the question is simple. Are you agree or disagree that bilingual English-Spanish should be mandatory in Colombian public schools from kindergarten to high school? That's the question. And we got the approval. That's beautiful because the electoral board is an independent office from the executive branch. And we got the approval after doing all this research within the last 5 years. We got the approval on August 1st, 2025, very recently, and I was super happy. And when the Colombian Electoral Board approved the referendum, we went to all the media, because the media was super excited. Oh, what is this? It's people who are getting together to organize this referendum to make English and Spanish mandatory in public school. So it was getting momentum, good momentum in the media, but nothing is perfect, right? On August 6th, 7 p.m., prime time, the before a holiday in Colombia, I was having a great conversation with my wife after dinner. We were making plans, and we were watching Colombian television, and suddenly, boom, the Colombian president is going to address the nation to talk about many important aspects of the country. So, wow, what's going to happen, right? Maybe they arrest a drug lord, or they were able to rescue some people who were kidnapped by the criminals in Colombia. Something very important. Maybe the president is going to go to a country to make international trade deals. Something is going on. Okay, let's see what the president has to say. The president of Colombia is Mr. Gustavo Petro. He's a lefty guy coming from the lefty. I don't have any issues with the lefty, so we can be lefty, center, right? This is part of democracy, right? It's not wrong. And also, he was a former guerrilla combatant. He was in the mountains in Colombia for 25 years, fighting against the government with weapons, killing civilians. But after a peace process in 1991, the then Colombian president decided to issue a pardon to provide him a second opportunity to be part of the democracy in Colombia, and all the Colombian people support that because we wanted peace, right? So the president granted the pardon, and the today president, the current president, started his political career based on a anti-gringo speech, based on anti-Western values speech, because he was educated under the Soviet Union values at that time. Again, I am not in a position to judge any ideology or political point of view, and this is our referendum is not about that. But I'm providing this background to you to understand what are you going to learn. So, Mr. Petro started to pursue his political career in Colombia, very popular. He was elected senator many times. Pretty much he was in the political opposition based on his ideology. Then he was elected the mayor of Bogota, the capital. You know, being elected mayor is very important in any city, more in the capital of a nation. And then he was elected president in a nutshell. He got some issues along the way, but he was elected president in 2022. And we start to watch the president address. Imagine here in Boston, oh, President Trump is going to address the nation. Oh, wow. Make this in Ukraine, maybe, right? Okay. What's going to happen with the president of Colombia? He started to address the nation, talking about the economy, his peace process with other terrorist organizations, about the international relation of the country with the world. And suddenly, he started to talk about our referendum. And when I start to listen, I went, oh! Like a boom, jumping from my sofa. And Lina said, what happened to you, sweetie? That was super fun. In a nutshell, he said, there are a group of people, very rich people, who want to privatize the public school systems in Colombia and make English the second official language of the country. And I cannot support that. You're gonna see the video now. So pretty much, he made between 3 to 4 false statements. First of all, we don't want to privatize the public education in Colombia. Secondly, he said that we want to eliminate the Spanish language of Colombia from public schools, which is not true. Third, he said that before teaching English in public school, it's more important to teach African languages, indigenous languages. I understand the richness of our culture, of course, and actually the Colombian Constitution recognizes the language of our indigenous people as part of the official languages in Colombia. and some African languages as well, because many men and women from Africa came to Colombia when in the whole Americas, under British control here in the US and Spanish control in South America, they had the slave trade. And also we have in Colombia Afro-Colombians, and you have here Afro-Americans. So also the Colombian Constitution recognized the African language as part of our heritage. So there is no problem with that. But in terms of economic and development, a Colombian kid is going to be more equipped if he speaks Spanish, or she speaks Spanish and English, and not Spanish and Swahili, with all respect. But we're talking about a war which is different from the war we got centuries ago. So, to make the story short, to open the floor for discussion and to see the video, that statements from the president boost in a positive way our referendum. The next day, I was being interviewed by all the Colombian media, TV, radio, everything. My wife said, "Oh no, you're a celebrity." Don't worry, I'm gonna keep loving you. No, I'm just kidding. So, and because the media felt that this is a fight between David and Goliath. I don't know if you're familiar with the story of David and Goliath. So a little shepherd of 14 years old against a giant. David and Goliath is fighting the president on this, a president who is very popular among the base, among the poor in Colombia, who has the power to interrupt the TV in Colombia to address the nation, and we, with small budget, traveling another country, another world to talk about this referendum, is an unequal, unbalanced fight. So the media somehow got, how can I say, not on our side because they have to be neutral, but they got like a sympathy because of the David and Goliath equation here. And that has been helping us a lot. Now we are in the business to get the attention of the international community about this fight. And that's the reason why I came to Boston. I'm gonna have some meetings in the afternoon because I want to bring this issue to the American media and to the world. So this is not about ideologies. This is not about to impose any Yankee culture in Latin America. It's not. It's to equip the Colombian kids in public school with better skills to compete in a global world. And to finish, let me give you another data, economic data. The outsourcing market in the world is huge, $100 billion per year. Call centers, cybersecurity, and IT. 65 billion per year is invested by American companies. They ship those low-income jobs overseas. They do not look to Colombia. Oh, those guys do not speak English. They look to Filipinas, to India, Nepal, and in Latin America, Brazil. Somehow Brazilians speak better English than Colombians. So we are getting 0% of that market. Of course, you as an American can say, oh, why we are exporting jobs overseas? We need to hire those people here. That's a different story, but that is the reality. So my point is, we are losing pieces of the cake. If we get these skills to the Colombian kids 50 years from now, those Colombian kids just for being bilinguals are going to be able to be hired by an American company, a European company, Chinese company. They don't have to leave the country. They work on the decks at home using their bilingual skills. Perhaps they don't need to go to college because they are going to make a lot of money by being bilingual. And when you bring the American dollars into the Colombian pesos, it's huge. $1 is 4,000 pesos. So you are making $2,000 per month. It's going to be 16 million pesos in Colombia. That's the salary of a regular doctor in a medicine room, and the doctor spent 10 years in school. So open the floor.
Awesome.
All the video for
So we've talked a lot about, so some of the students in the class were raised in the US, some were raised in other countries, but we've talked a lot about like the values of bilingualism and personally, at a personal level. And I think it's so interesting to start thinking about this at a societal level and public policy. And so this is an area that I don't know very much about, but I love that you were able to give us this government and economic and public policy context. Maybe just any questions, anyone have a question for Professor Cordia?
Welcome to the debate. You don't have to be agree with me
Yeah.
on everything.
What do you want to know more about?
Don't be shy. Yes, Jamie.
Yeah, I have less of a question and more of like a discussion. So I went to an international school in the United Arab Emirates, which is very similar to the Singapore situation. They all from like private schools, and I actually did the PISA exam every year in like primary education and high school. So I just thought it was interesting that like it's kind of like the first time that I'm hearing it ever since I graduated high school, because the PISA exam, I think it was once every 2 years that I did, and I had a lot of friends that were also in mother tongue languages. Like I didn't, because I speak like English and then I chose to learn another language, but people that I was raised around, like they're Danish or they're Spanish, and they had mother tongue languages, and even though they were bilingual, they would always say that the PISA exam, even though they are bilingual, was so difficult because had it been in their mother tongue language that they learned first before they learned English, it would have been a lot easier for them to do. So I just find it interesting that,
So you can imagine a kid from Colombia without any English taking those exams in English. It's just luck. I'm gonna choose random. Impossible, I would say. Great contribution, David. Thank you. Sharia?
Yes. So for the referendum, does it, like, are you saying that there should be like an English like dedicated like class only like in the public schools, or is it that the schools are teaching in English and then Spanish is just like spoken at home, or like what is sort of the structure of English in these schools?
That's a great question. So the idea behind the public policy is to educate the kids from kindergarten in both languages, Spanish and English. And the idea is to divide or split the hours equally, Spanish and English. And that's the goal. And when they reach when they get being bilingual, maybe during the elementary years, they are going to be taught in English about math, science, biology, all of the subjects that are being tested under this international text.
So I'll say that in Boston, we have in Boston, some kids will learn, I think I said my daughter is in a school where they learn Mandarin, but they just have it like twice a week, and it's like, a little happy, like inclusive, nice, nothing wrong with it, but she's not becoming bilingual. But we do have a few schools in Boston, public schools, that are bilingual. And so there are some that are bilingual Spanish-English. There's one that's bilingual Haitian Creole and English, because we have a large Haitian Creole population in Boston. And often the school works out their model, but they'll often do something like, literally like 1 week in English, 1 week in Spanish. And so they'll go back and forth. So the kid is like learning the content, like kindergarten content, like colors and shapes and basic stuff like that. You're learning it in L1 and you're learning it in L2. And some of the kids have their first language L1 as Spanish, and some of the kids have their first language L1 as English. So they're learning, it's called the two-way bilingual model.
Yes.
And then as they get a little bit higher up, so usually by 4th grade, so if you've been doing this since kindergarten, 4th to 6th grade is kind of when it starts to shift, and when you're able to really like start learning history and things like that in the other language as well. So I'm assuming it's like a similar model like that.
Correct. And that's a very important question, Shreya and Christine just stated, because if you think critically, the next question to ask would be, who is going to teach English in Colombia?
Yeah.
So that's enormous. That is an enormous, tremendous issue to have. Some people may say that would be impossible, but I would say it can be possible. Why? First of all, we can use in kindergarten all of the platforms, virtuality, artificial intelligence capabilities, Microsoft, to teach the English language to kids, maybe 90% of the time without having a proper English teacher in the classroom. So that could be a solution, and that could be a very friendly budget solution for the Colombian government. So if I were the president of Colombia, I would ask my wife and the first lady, go and talk to Bill Gates, go and talk to the guy from Facebook, all of these super rich, super smart, and most of them American guys, to help the country through the foundations to provide, the technology, the support. Secondly, we have growing programs in Colombia, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and doctoral degrees in Colombia, in public and private universities, whose main major or subject is English. So little by little, Colombia has been being prepared without any connection with this issue in offering a Colombian teachers with English capabilities.
And I would assume, I don't know the details, but I would assume that right now, many of those people who major in English go abroad.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
it could be kind of interesting to think about trying to keep some of those graduates in Colombia.
Yes.
We have just like a couple minutes left, so if you had a video,
Yes, please.
let me pull this down for you.
You understand Spanish?
Some people do.
Okay. I can do that.
But we've been talking about dealing with languages we don't understand, so
Okay, great.
you can all look at like body language in this as well.
So you're gonna see the presidential statements about our referendum.
I see a lot of tennis here.
Oh yeah, so sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, perfect.
Un grupo tratando de privatizar la educación.
That's the Colombian president, and he's saying there is a group of people trying to privatize the public education in Colombia, which is not true.
Ahí nos quieren obligar a que el segundo idioma sea el inglés.
He said they want to make English a mandatory language in Colombia, like the second official language.
Es un error del
No, that's
presidente
not
no querer que el inglés se
That's a
convierta
mistake from the president, not wanting to make English a mandatory language of instruction in the Colombian
en la
policy.
segunda lengua oficial de instrucción obligatoria en los colegios públicos de la patria. Nuestros niños y niñas en toda la geografía nacional merecen la respuesta del Estado de recibir una educación bilingüe obligatoria desde
Let's give me the
preescolar
reason
hasta
why,
grado doce.
the reason now. Look,
Sí, claro que es importante el inglés, pero no por obligación como segunda lengua oficial de los colegios, por Dios.
oh no, the English is very important, but not like a mandatory language of instruction in public schools in Colombia. And he started to, move his hand.
Constitución ordena una lengua oficial
By constitution, Spanish is the only one in Colombia.
del español.
Los países que tienen una política
This is
bilingüe
the reason I just
obligatoria,
gave you the data.
como Croacia y Singapur, tuvieron crecimientos económicos de más del 3.6% en el año 2024. Colombia, que no se enseña el inglés,
Colombia without
Victoria,
English.
tuvo un mediocre crecimiento de 1.7%. En el gobierno sur,
Allá tienen otra que es el inglés.
There in the US, they speak English.
Y quiero que los estudiantes estudien inglés. y alemán, y francés, y chino. Y
He said, and I want our kids to learn English and French and Spanish and Mandarin and Chino and Chinese. But he said, these are not the language of Colombia.
La mayor cantidad de las lenguas de Colombia no son estas. Son las de los indígenas. Y hay
So
una-
our languages are Spanish and indigenous languages and the African languages. That's is one definition.
Convocamos a todos los colombianos y colombianas que firmen esta iniciativa.
People need to leave, I
para
know
hacer
someone might have a test or something in the next period.
Sure.
You can
consulta
slip
popular
out on them.
aprobada en la historia de Colombia y hacer del inglés una lengua oficial de obligatoria instrucción junto con el español en los colegios públicos de
The
la
final part. No, it's all.
Wow, and I love that there was someone interpreting in sign language right behind him, which is kind of interesting.
Yes.
Sign language is also not the official language of Colombia, yet there's a place for it there, so that's really interesting. Thank you so much, Professor Portillo. We will talk on Monday. Have a great weekend. See you guys Monday, and thank you. Thanks for coming. This is wonderful. Oh, so exciting. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, my
Video.
assistant.
Jay.
Facebook.
Yeah.
A++.